student, there's something you're seeing. And you tell yourself, no, something is not right here. I remember what they taught us. I remember what this professor said. I remember what this doctor, this can actually be better. And then 5, growth requires tenacity and resilience. What's tenacity? You must continue. It's tough, but you must continue pushing and you must not give up. Did you know? I'm going to ask us some questions. That before today, I remember, in fact, let me not even go too far. This is post office in the days where carriers of mail, if you want to send somebody a letter, they will carry a letter in bags like this with leg and walk around the city. It's like you're in Lagos. Somebody is sending a letter from Ibadan to Lagos. They will first use leg, carry it to the post office in Lagos, and then they will wait for the day lorry is going to come. The lorry will come from Ibadan to Lagos once in a month or once in 2 weeks. That's when the letter will get there. So imagine that there's a woman that you're in love with in Ibadan. Before your letter gets to Ibadan that I love you, and she comes back to respond, I don't love you, things have moved in 1 month. But right now, you're sending to somebody an email, and the person is seeing it immediately. You know, in those days, they'll say if you want to send a letter to somebody in London, they will take it through ship. Meaning sometimes a letter will not get to somebody, an application will not get to somebody till 1 month. Aren't we thankful for innovation? Now, let's look at, I was doing a research. It will interest you to know that the fastest typist in the world was recorded to have typed, I think it's in the 1960s, was recorded to have typed 216 words per minute. Please tell me in today, when you hold that your phone, see where we are coming from. I don't know how many of us, you can signify by the raise of a hand, your digital hand, that saw this typewriter. I remember when I was in university, this is what they were using to type projects. Do you know they will type this project and they can type it for you 2 months like this under mango tree. And once they make a mistake, they will now use something they call Tipex and Tipex the paper. Can you imagine? And the fastest person in the world that was using typewriter. Thank you so much, everyone. I see Oloyede, I see Umar Farouk, Valentino, everybody raising their hands. Karina too raised hands. You know, you can imagine this funny typewriter. And you know the funny thing, if you make a mistake, they will tear this sheet of paper. They will use Tipex. But imagine today, you just type something and you feel this thing is not okay, you delete. Do you know that even typing progressed? I don't even know how many of us saw our parents use 3310. I think we know that 3310 Nokia phone that is like walkie-talkie. If you want to send a text message, if you see how how you will construct when you're pressing the keypad of those 3310, some of them say it's as if you must use stone to hit the keypad for softness and flexibility. And then we move from this kind of typewriter. Imagine where we are. We now move to this computer that looks like a TV screen. And then you move to your sophisticated laptop. And now you have your phones. I mean, an iPhone can do... An iPhone is as good as a computer in your hand. So you can see the evolution on technology. Now, somebody is going to ask me, what is the correlation between innovation and growth? What is the link between innovation and growth? Now, the founder of Apple, the iPhones we use, look at what he said. He said innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity. So when things start changing, you are not crying and telling yourself, oh, what's going on? This is a threat. We can't move on. I remember when COVID started and the whole world was shut down. There was no movement. Some people say the world has come to an end. Rapture is happening by tomorrow. You know, there was that total shutdown where there was no movement, no nothing. But guess what? Some people evolved. What was the evolution? So we are now at home. I want to have a meeting in the office. I want to talk to somebody. I'm sure many of us never heard about Zoom till COVID. How many people heard about Zoom before COVID? How many people heard about Google Meet before COVID? In fact, let me even tell us, there are different meeting platforms. Who knows this meeting platform with the P? Can anybody tell me? This meeting platform with the B? Anyone? Don't Google, just tell me if anybody knows it. This is Blue Jeans. It's a meeting platform. Some companies use it. At least we are very conversant with Zoom. We are conversant with Google Meet. We are conversant with the WhatsApp meeting. But there's the Blue Jeans. There's also WeChat. So, innovations, people just started thinking out of the box. In fact, people will tell you now there's nothing like a box. Just think. Don't restrict yourself. When we say VUCA, when things have gone volatile, different things emerging, just think. And you see Zoom, you see Google Meet, you see Blue Jeans, you see WeChat meeting, and then of course you see the WhatsApp meeting. Now let's look at the Samsung story. And when I tell you the Samsung story, I also tell you a very sad story about BlackBerry. In the when Obama was going to become president of the US, Obama used the BlackBerry phone. This was, I think, around 2000 and between 2012, 2011. If you hold a BlackBerry, in the bank I was working at the time, the easiest way to know a manager was the BlackBerry. How? Because they gave managers BlackBerry phone. I had a BlackBerry phone I was using at that time. So it was like a symbol of class, Oh, you have a BlackBerry. How many people have BlackBerries today? I guess if I ask in this class of over 100 people, I am sure not up to 2 people have a BlackBerry. I am also sure not up to 2, 3 people have seen, let me even say 100 people have not seen BlackBerry in the last 1 year. Karina, have you seen a BlackBerry in the last 1 year? I'm not sure a lot of people have seen the BlackBerry, but it was an it device. It was the in device then. And that is what happens when people fail to grow, when people fail to change, when people fail to adapt. Fast-moving changes. Now, let's look at the evolution of Samsung. When mobile phones started coming out, the it phone was Nokia. I don't know how many of us remember Nokia 3310. It was like, if you buy Nokia 3310 with an MTN line, you have arrived. You are doing well in your family. You have arrived. And you have all those 33 numbers. That was how MTN started. But all of a sudden, if you look at the beginning of this from 1988, look at this black phone that looks like a walkie-talkie. It moved to this other one. You started seeing other phones like Alcatel and the rest. And then you see the flip. There was this flip Nokia. If you look at these phones, as at that time, my people, there was nothing like picture. Phones started with not taking pictures. Phones started with just message me, SMS. There was nothing like chat. There was nothing like picture. All of a sudden, and then Samsung was an underdog. What do I mean by an underdog? People consider Samsung like cheapay, as in, okay, you don't have money for Nokia 3310, no problem. Go and buy Samsung. In fact, then my colleague in the office will say, that Samsung, they say people should not put it near their ear, that the vibration can wound somebody's ear. But these guys did not stop. They kept, when they talk about tenacity, and that's why I said growth has to do with tenacity, your ability never to give up. Even when people say, oh, this thing is not what, just keep pushing. And these guys kept moving. You know what they now did? They were the first set of people that now worked on phones that became colored. When phones started, it wasn't colored. There was nothing like color. But today, we are not talking about color again. We've moved to pixels. We've moved to, if you look at, I have an iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I was just looking at the features of iPhone 16, and I'm like, oh, wow. So look at the evolution of phone and see where Samsung is today with the S24. The different things that you can write. The S24 is like a mini laptop. Are we talking about the Z Fold? It's like a mini laptop. I can sign signatures on my phone. I have my signatures on my phone. You can scan with your phone. So I talked about here that what is the link between innovation and growth? Number one, companies that are able to understand the changes in the environment and quickly adapt, not just adapting, quickly. The word quickly is very important. Quickly adapt to these changes, will evolve and grow rapidly. Let's look at BlackBerry on one side versus Samsung and the iPhone. Do you notice that every time if you have an iPhone, you keep getting all these iOS updates, you keep getting Android updates? What you think those updates are just updates? It means that people are paid constantly working on technology. Are we talking about cars? If you look at the new Maybach, you know, when boys tell you that the Maybach bounces, the bounce is not just for a fizzy. That bounce is actually that when you're in snow, some cars will get caught up in snow here, abroad when it's winter. But that Maybach, that bouncing is that no matter the level of snow, the bounce will take it up. I don't know if you get, I mean, you can imagine a car bouncing. All you need is when you enter the car, press a button. You're not matching brake or anything. The car is just going up and down. You can Google it. Innovation helps you to penetrate and gain a wider market share. And that's how Samsung overtook Nokia. Today, there's no Nokia now. There's no Nokia phone anywhere. And this guy started. You can see the market penetration of Samsung. So there are two phones in the world today that are competing. Is iPhone and Samsung. And that's why once you see iPhone 16, iPhone 200, iPhone 20, what's the next thing you will hear? Samsung will release. If you check the reviews, all these technology people that do reviews on YouTube, is always between iPhone and, I mean, check the different competition. So you must quickly adapt. Number two, it helps you to penetrate and gain a wider share. For you that you're an engineering student, what's going to set you apart when you go to work is not to do star.star. Star.star is copy and paste. No, it's that you get there and you begin to think, what can I do to better the process? And then you have the end users in mind. How do you leverage innovation for growth? That's where we're going to be winding down from. Number one, you see somebody holding a lens here. You must pay attention to changes in your environment and move to adapt quickly. That word quickly is very important. Do you know that some companies died during COVID? In the company I work, when COVID started, this was around February 2020. As at that time, we started having meetings. Managers, there were different meetings between managers. And you know what my company started talking, because it's a multinational. So from the group, they were asking, with the way COVID is going, if they shut down did not happen till about April, May. As at February, we were already putting things in place. So if there's a shutdown and people cannot move, how do we sell cement? What do we move? How do we meet? What do we do? Do you know we started putting things in place, started upgrading data for staff, moved to default mode that what if there's a shutdown today? And there were simulations. By first week in April, my office shut down. And we shut down from 2020 and officially went back fully to the office end of 2023. And in those 3 years, we were making mega profits. Why? Because there were already simulations ongoing that if we're not able to come into the office, what do we do? How do we adapt? Which systems do we use? And that was it. So people were like, oh, so how did you people do it? You must begin to think ahead and adapt quickly. Number two, have the end user of a product in mind. Don't make anything for me without you asking me, so how do you want your phone to work? I mean, everybody knows that young people like games. So when you pick all these phones now, it's about fastness. It's about how fast. It's about how sharp the camera is. You notice that there's always focus on the camera of phones. Oh, this thing can take a wide shot from here. I can snap somebody from Unilag. I can snap somebody's head that is in a solo. That's what people want to see on your phone. So you must have the end user in mind in any innovation if there must be growth. Now, Thomas Edison said something. The picture of this man here is Thomas Edison. He said, one thing you must know about innovation is that don't be afraid to fail. You're working on your final year project and you tell yourself, I've done this thing, it has failed. You cry, you scatter it. You tell yourself, in fact, let me go and look for a project somebody did 4 years ago. Let me just quickly do it. Who is looking at it? Nobody may be looking at it today. But guess what? It will come up someday. And you just say, oh, while I was in school. Yes, Nigeria may not. I use the word may not. Because it's going to change and it will keep changing. Be that country that appreciates innovation today. But I can tell you, if it is in your mind, like I said, and you don't give up, regardless of the failure or the challenges in your environment, someday you will be opportune to come into an environment where that innovation is going to speak. And Thomas Edison said something. He said, I mean, look at this thing I got from something I was reading. He said, he failed 1,000 times trying to develop the light bulb that you and I are enjoying today. But guess what? He said, I have not failed 10,000 times. He said, I have successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work. So take every failure as, okay, this is one way to not work. At least you record that one down, that this one will not work. Don't call it failure. So you're on your final year project and you did something, instead of lights to come on, the whole board that you just did now scattered. Just take it out, okay, yes, this does not work. So if anybody's talking to you tomorrow, you tell the person, if you connect A and C together, it will not work. Why? Because you tried it and it failed. Number 4, embrace risk. Some of us don't like to take risk. You like to stay in the safe place. Okay, this is the kind of project that if you do, you get it. You just stay safe. Embrace risk. Don't be too comfortable with status quo. And my husband would always say something. He said, those with a lion heart will take the lion's share. Don't want to take a lion's share of money when you don't have the lion's heart. You must have that boldness to say, oh, I want to create a new thing. I want to do something somebody has not done before. I mean, look at those young boys that did Paystack. Imagine the money they're on today. They are just, I mean, Babcock, just like you're in Unilag and you develop something. Number 5, feedback is the breakfast of champions. I mean, look at this breakfast. Look at the bread, so scrumptious. The toasted tomato. Maybe I should have put ewa going and beans. That will speak more. Look at the Scotch egg. I mean, look at the bacon. Look at egg, you know. What am I saying? Some of us, when your teacher gives you feedback, you just shut down. Somebody say, what is this thing that you wrote in your project? This is like something that you want students to do. You just shut down. If you must make it in making new things, you must be able to take feedback. Oh, this is not good, you go back. Have you heard about companies rolling back series of cars? They release Toyota so series and they say, oh, customers complain, they roll it back. So we must take feedback and work on it. Objectively work on feedback. Some of us, once they give you feedback, you just write it down. And I think that's what happens in our beloved country, Nigeria. When we give government feedback, when you say now that your president, there's a name you are calling president. I don't want to say it. You know, this is a public meeting. If people take feedback and the feedback is not good, what happens? You go back and work on it objectively and ask yourself, this product that I released now, of what use is it? People are pushing back on it. And then when you take that feedback, you go work on it and it becomes better. And then the 7th one, push boundaries. You must be able to push boundaries. Push boundaries. Don't stay within comfort zone. If you must innovate, you can't do what everybody is doing and think you're going to get a new thing. When you do what everybody is doing, you get what everybody is getting. You understand? So we must be able to push boundaries. In concluding, learning and innovation go hand in hand. So it is what you learn that translates to what you then innovate. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow. And that's what killed Nokia. That's what killed BlackBerry. To think that, oh, you will continue to use 3310. I'm just imagining a world now. You know, I don't need to speak much. If we're in a class and Karina is dozing, I don't need to send her a message. I just snap her. She will not even know I'm taking her. I'll just send her a picture. Once she opens her phone and sees that picture, you say, wow, this is a mess up. So imagine a world of 3310. Imagine a world of only SMS. Imagine a world of no TikTok. I mean, sometimes when you want to cool off your brain, you enter TikTok. By the time you watch some people that don't have anything that's troubling their life, they are dancing, removing shoes, doing all manner of things, you cool off your brain. Imagine that there were no such innovations. Imagine that there was no Zoom today. I'm sitting here in the US, I'm speaking to you in Nigeria, real time. You can see my face. I mean, if you see me someday on the street in Lagos, you look and say, oh, I think I've seen this person somewhere. And the same way, you have a brother that is not in Lagos. Maybe your brother is in school at Ondo, wherever your brother is outside the country, and you can chat with that person real time. It feels like I'm talking to you, seeing my face, because we are doing video call. I can see you. You will say, what are you cooking? What are you wearing? Let me see what you're doing. You know, you feel like you're in there. My late dad didn't see all of that. I was telling my brother, I said, if my dad wakes up today, he will be shocked at what the world has turned to, that people can see each other real time. I'm talking. So I close with this quote: learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday Nokia thought that what they did yesterday. BlackBerry thought that by Obama holding the BlackBerry phone during the presidential campaigns, and people were like, oh, BlackBerry is the it. They just stayed there. They were not innovating nothing, and Samsung just came and took over. iPhone just came and took over. So today's success cannot be tomorrow's same success. So with these few words, I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that innovation, would automatically move to growth. If we do the analysis, but I don't want to bore you because you're not into finance. If you do the analysis of the growth of Samsung from 1988, somebody can Google it. I want somebody in the class to Google it. What was their revenue in 1988? Please, someone Google it for me. Maybe James Olaito. I'm seeing James Olaito. Maybe you can Google it for me. The revenue of Samsung in 1988. Google the revenue of Samsung in 2023. I want those numbers. And that will tell you what growth means. Google iPhone in 2013. Google iPhone revenue today. Somebody please share those figures with me. I just wanted it to come from you. I don't know if Ibrahim Jimo is raising his hand to share it, or does somebody have those figures? Just to tell you the power of innovation and growth. Anybody there? Anybody?
We're on it, ma.
Okay, I'm happy. Let's do that.
I guess some people are raising their hands already.
Yeah, anybody please go ahead.
You can unmute and speak, please.
Okay, so from 2009 till date, Samsung, their total revenue is $172.5 billion.
So I want specific figures now. Thank you very much for that.
Yes.
How much did they start with?
Okay.
You understand? What was the revenue? Okay, now let me read something for you. Samsung is the world's 24th most valuable company by market capitalization. As at 28th of May 2023, it was worth $325.10 billion. $325.10 billion. In 1980, when Samsung was making television alone, their revenue was $10 million. $10 million in 1980. $325.10 billion. In what? In 2023. And now let me shock you. It says it increased. In 2022, they reached a staggering 302.2 trillion in South Korean currency. Trillion, if they are talking about 302.2 trillion. Sometimes Nigeria's budget alone. Oh my God. I need us to, sometimes I tell my sons, I say, see, when you read, it will wake up your mind. The budget of Nigeria that has 200 million people, a country, last year. If you convert the trillion, maybe I think our budget was like 5 trillion. I can't remember what it is. In Naira. Convert that money that is supposed, the budget they, for me, you, and everybody in Nigeria, 200 million people, let me use pidgin, as we plenty rich. Compare that in Naira. If you convert 302 points, let me even say, let me even put Nigeria as a 10 trillion Naira budget. Divide that by 1,700. Convert it to dollar. Match that budget of 200 million people to one company. What one company is generating in dollar. That will tell you the power. So Samsung started with making TV. And that's why I said innovation will always lead to growth. It's not rocket science. We are looking at numbers and we're looking at money. That's the easiest way to look at it. Because if any growth, any innovation, that's why I said innovation is not just new ideas. The new ideas must be able to generate significant visible, that somebody looking at you will know that you're making progress. So innovation will always bring about growth. If you go and check, I mean, you can imagine a company that started in 1980 generating $10 million. And as at 2023, why I'm not using 2024 figure is that 2024 has not ended. So before you can share 2024 figure, you need to be in 2025 so that that company would have been audited. And then you can see their financials. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. So we are speaking to audited financials. It's not just figures. For it to be on the internet means that that company has been audited. I mean, for companies like that, for companies like mine, which are, what am I even talking about? My company did a cement. Now, that's the first in Nigeria to do a cement. We did a cement this year that does not allow water to penetrate it. So that cement is selling wildly in Lekki, Aja area where they have water issues. So if you use that cement for foundation, water cannot penetrate it. So it's not like when you just pour water into cement, that absorption happens immediately. So innovation speaks to growth. And you can go back. I want you to go back, look at the Samsung story, look at the Nokia story, and do the comparative analysis. At the time when Samsung ventured into phone, they were not selling anything near 1/4 of what Nokia is selling. But today, in fact, Nokia died to the point that Microsoft bought over Nokia. And today, there's nothing like a Nokia phone. All right. So questions, contributions, and we're done. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I've been able to make some sense to
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, man. This is mind-blowing. Am I seeing the claps? The emojis, keep them coming, keep them coming. Yes. Thank you very much, ma'am. This is mind-blowing. I mean, there are a lot of nuggets that we've passed across today. And I thank you, ma'am, for the angle with which you came in. Yes, we have petroleum and chemical engineering students, but I want to tell you that most of them are even tech startups. Most of them are in tech, so they understand the language you're speaking. They do. And I'm sure they are blessed for being here today. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Yeah, over to you, Karina. Karina, are you there? Do you have questions? Please send your questions to the chat. Send your questions to the chat. Karina, can you hear me? Okay, so if you have a question, all right, Karina, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Engineer Ifeoma Obaro. That was honestly very insightful. I'm going through the chats now, and I think one thing that you said that really stuck out to us was when you said something about taking the lion's hat to get the lion's share. That was very, very insightful. And I remember when you were talking about the facts about growth and where, if we are not growing, basically we will die out. I just like remembered what happened like in the company where I did like my industrial training, where I remember one of the managers was saying that one of the reasons why they bring up, even interns is that these interns are able to see what they
fresh
can
idea.
Yes, fresh ideas, exactly. Especially in terms of HSC, things that they take for granted. They've realized that we interns, the fresh, employees are able to pick on it faster. And that's one thing about growth and, just always increasing and, reshuffling. Thank you so much, ma'am. So I don't know, my fellow colleagues, I don't know if you have any question for Engineer Ifeoma Obaro. She's here to answer, or any suggestions. Let's just have, a quick chat before we end the session. I don't know if you can see the chats, Ma. They are thanking you in the chat because they can't.
Okay, I can look at it. Yeah.
Yes, the emojis are flying. Thank you, Ma.
Thank you very much. I would have really loved to. Yeah, don't be afraid. I like that. Don't be afraid to fail or be discouraged with failure. No, don't ever accept anyone to tell you that you failed. When anybody says that, just tell them, no, I didn't fail. I just discovered another way not to do it. Because I mean, failure in a process is also part of that process. Elon Musk actually elaborated on it that if you're doing any process change and there's no fail, you're not really making a change. Because if you also look at it, when banks do, why I try to use real life analysis in my teaching is something that is relatable. In the last 2 months, GTB and Zenith did a cutover on their software, right? And you know, people started saying, oh, my system is failing, I can't get this, I can't get, because there was a change. Sometimes when there's it's like discomfort. Things change, but with time, you know, there will be stability. And when you look at the updates they've done, you will see that, oh, I think the services are a lot better. So that's it. I don't know, maybe, I guess I did well. If there are no
Yes.
questions, I mean,
You sure did. Very succinct and straight to the point.
Okay,
yes.
hello, Karina. I think some people want to ask the question in person. So please, if
Okay.
you want to ask the question, please unmute. Kindly
Yes.
unmute and ask. Give your
Alright.
name, your department, and straight to your question. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, ma. So my name is Mohammed Lam, Petroleum and Gas Students, 400 level. And I appreciate the presentation, even though I didn't join from the onset. But then the question I would like to ask is you talk about growth, but then as humans or as students at times we get to a stage whereby we are being overwhelmed because of the activities of how we want to improve ourselves. So how much more can you advise us to go about when you're overwhelmed or when you are burnt out? How did you manage this? You know, the reality is when one gets to that stage, what you think you are doing that's to improve yourself, you just definitely stop. And before you know it, you're spending time and you're not improving yourself. So I would like if you can.
Okay. So let me start by saying I'm someone who is very real. I'm very practical. There are two ways I'm going to answer this question. Number one, when you feel overwhelmed, the question to ask yourself is few questions. Number one, what am I doing right now? Or what are the activities that I'm engaging in that is making me feel choked and overwhelmed? Ask yourself that critical. Nobody can answer that question but you. What am I doing? So in a day, around 11 p.m., I just feel my head is so heavy. I've been reading. So in 24 hours, have I read in 24 hours? If you have, I don't know, I use an iPhone, so it's easy for me to check, but I believe a Samsung phone too has that facility to check how many hours I've been on social media. My phone shows me. I have apps. By the nature of my job, I have apps that I work with, financial services apps. It shows me how long I've been on those apps, how long I've been on my, because my phone has all my work, what do they call it? All my work apps, my email, the approvals I do, everything I do is on this phone. So it tells me how much I've spent. So sometimes I look at it, it will tell me 17 hours active in today, which means in 24 hours, I've been very active working on this device. And now check it. Do you know this phone tells me you spent 10 hours on your work apps? Kai, that means I've spent 10 full hours working on my work apps. It will tell me 2 hours on social media, everything put together, WhatsApp, what do you call it? Instagram, Facebook, everything. Why did I say you must ask yourself what is overwhelming you? Because sometimes it is not the critical things that will change your life that may be overwhelming you. It may be other mundane things. Do you know that people put stress on you without you knowing? By the time somebody is coming, relating some issues, you're thinking and all of that. So one advice I will give you, step one, what are the things, what are the activities you engage in that makes you feel pressured and overwhelmed? Then number two, ask yourself, what is your stretch capacity? Why am I talking about stretch capacity? I'm sorry, but in the world of work today, we feel, please forgive me for this statement, we feel that a lot of Gen Z and young people easily hide under mental stress. Easily. Things that even we as parents, older people went through with so much pressure. And we just tell ourselves, okay, I'll take this and I'll test it. I think this will, I'll become better. Okay. Any small thing. I had a friend, and this is not to diss anybody. I mean, I have young children. My first son is 19 going to 20. He's also he's in 300 level. I have another one is reading engineering too. He's in 100 level. So, you know, young people, a little thing, they just tell you, my mental health, they start touching their head. I need to take a walk. I need to. Are those things real? Yes. But you also need to ask yourself, what is my stretch capacity? Have I really stretched myself? Or is it that when small thing happens like this, I just say, oh, I'm tired. I got to take a walk. Man, I got to chill my brain, you know. I got to take a chill. Yeah. So sometimes I just ask myself, I say, hey, this university, we went to it, engineering, it was 5 years old. It's in fact, now you have access to phone, you can Google some things. AI, you use AI now, ChatGPT to do project. That time, you will go to library like this. Where is computer? You will carry books, you know. That's how some people developed eye problem that they wear double lens today, because you will read all kinds of what, I mean, today with your phone, you can just Google anything. A lecturer is saying something in the class and you feel the thing is not jiving. You have Coursera courses, you have access to YouTube and all of that. So what I will say is, please ask yourself, what is stressing me? And please, I want to beg everyone in this class, if you feel at any point in time you're overwhelmed, please close your books and rest. A mad person cannot innovate anything. Somebody whose brain is emitting smoke, you know that they are invisible smoke. Engineering students, calculus, I remember year 3. That time, some people will read and read like this. They will carry cold water, pour on their head. Sometimes they will carry, you know, this pure water ice, they will put it on. I remember those days, one boy, when he's coming to, in the morning, he's coming to class in the morning. We used to call him Soul. He was just now on our class WhatsApp. What is Soul? The guy will be walking like somebody whose body has departed, spirit departed. We say, what happened now? You said they were doing calculus overnight. I say, calculus, you are walking like somebody who, the body is just, I said, this one is moving to madness. So, you know, some people then, calculus, they will be, that's engineering 303, they will be doing, you know, like in class. He's not holding chalk. The person will be doing like, I said, what is going on? He's doing like the Y, the X, the Wala. So when you feel overwhelmed, please close your books and relax. And then when you relax, go back to it. If the maths you're mathing is not mathing, you know, sometimes you'll be calculating something, it's not jiving. You now be seeing different. If you see X, you see, is it Y? Abi, is it D? You now call somebody, is it X? Help me go through. At that point, you already know that you're entering Igboro. So you need to come back, close your books, and relax. I hope I've answered that. Okay. Any other question in the chat?
Thank you
I'm trying
so
to go
much,
through the
ma'am.
chat.
Yes, Evans Evro, your hands are up. Do you have a question? Please, you can unmute and ask your question. Evans Evro. Is he still on the call? Okay. What about Jeffrey? Jeffrey, your hands are up. Do you have a question? Please unmute. Yes.
Yes, I do have a question. Thank you, Katrina. So first of all, wonderful session, ma'am. So my question is this: what about students who are into a lot of stuff? So for instance, I on my part, I'm into creative writing, some part of tech, acting, chemical engineering. They're like, it feels like there are a lot of things, and these are things that just pique my interest. Like, it's not like I just enjoy doing them. So it feels like there are a lot of things. And recently, I've just been feeling like I have to pin it down to one thing, like one thing that I would probably take.
Okay, let me quickly answer that. So
Professionally,
thank you very
because if you look
much
at
for
like my
this.
CV is very scattered. There's different
Olebube, so what I will say to you is this. It's good that you're at the stage in your life where you're trying your hands on so many things. Number one, you must not restrict yourself to one thing. We have that capacity. And I think it's also cultural. Do you know that a human being has the capacity to speak 32 languages without it conflicting? How do I know? Go and check it, the human brain. It's abroad, yes, that you will see children abroad. You know, when we are growing up, they say, I speak English. You will see, I mean, let me start from Nigeria. I had a friend during NYSC. She speaks Hausa fluently. I'm not saying joint, no. She speaks Hausa fluently. She speaks Igbo fluently, Yoruba fluently, and then Edo. How? they grew up in the barracks. So the dad was an army man, so they were moving. Now, you will see somebody who just lives in a household where they speak only English. And they say, sometimes it's confusing. Your brain has the capacity to take as much things as you are able to give it. And that's why I said, you must know your limit. Some people can't do too many things at the same time, but that you will restrict yourself to one thing. No. What I will say is this: be a master of a skill. You understand? But a principal of many. Master means that this is my forte. When I come into this space, creative writing, nobody can try it with me. If you wake up 2 a.m., I can give you a short script, fast. But when it also comes to chemical engineering, I can do it. Where I will have a challenge and I will advise you is, if you have 10 things you are doing and you're 30%, 40% on each, no, that's a scattered. So what you can do is to narrow down and say, creative writing, this is my natural habitat, meaning I don't even need to go to school. This comes to me naturally. So to take yourself to 90% there and become a master, all you need to do is take little courses. Okay, on my chemical engineering, I am like 70, 60. You put that down. So you have 1, 2. And then you look at acting. Are you forcing yourself to act? Do you really act well? If that one is just a side gig or something for now, you can do it as a hobby. So you need to list out those things and tell yourself, number one, is this generating income? Do I have a natural flair for this? So by the time you prioritize them, then you can now move some of them to hobby. Hobby means when I have time, that's when I'll give this one time. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. E.g., you may like singing. You now ask yourself, how is my voice? Is my voice with key or without key? Some people don't have key. So you want to now keys that you are singing off tune and all. So that one doesn't come to you naturally. You are struggling with it. But creative writing comes to you naturally. So you stick on that creative writing, master it, and then chemical engineering, is my course. That one, focus on it as well. Then the ones that are not up to 50%, 60%, move it to hobby. Only do those ones when you have extra time. That way you're not under pressure. But you see that creative writing, if it is something that comes to you naturally, my dear, focus on it. I read engineering, but today what pays my bill is finance. So you can be a master over one thing, over 2 things, over 3 things, but be a principal of others. What's principal of others? I have speaking engagements. There are places I go to speak, and I know how much I get paid for speaking in those places. So training is my natural habitat. This slide I think I did it in 40 minutes yesterday night. I went out, came back, and I started working on it in like 40 minutes or thereabouts. So there are things that come to you naturally. You don't need to do a lot. I don't know whether we get what I'm saying. So that's it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I have this question. I don't know if we have more time. I see something here. And the person says, I think it's Caleb. He says, what mechanisms do we have in place to test and implement innovative ideas? So this is not a straitjacket answer. And what do I mean? What I will need, mechanism I will need to test innovations in cement and manufacturing where I work is different from what you would need to test mechanisms in a petroleum company, for example. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but there are fundamental rules in engineering that apply to these things. Like I did say, number one, is this innovation better than what the process we are currently working on now? Point one, is it better? I started by saying, imagine that Samsung brought a phone that was not colored. We started from phones that were only sending SMS. We started from phones that had keypad to touch screen. And you can tell me now today that the feel of a touch screen is a lot better, right? The pictures are a lot better. It's no more black and white, it's colored. I can scan, meaning that there are new things on my phone which were not there 10 years ago. So the first question in innovation to test it is, the new thing, is it better than the existing process? Point one. Number two, does it require more wastage? You know what I mean by wastage? Let me use a practical example. I go to a tailor now, and I tell the tailor, I want to make this senator that guys wear. My former tailor will use 4 yards, make clean senator, as in if I wear it and come out, it's good. And then I get another tailor that says a new innovator. He wants to use 10 yards to make the same thing. I will run away as fast as my leg will carry me. Even if he's making it nice, but 6 yards, how do I account for 6 yards? Who is going to pay for 6 yards? But if I have a new tailor that says, okay, I can use 3.5 yards and still give you the same fit and feel of what your 4 yards tailor is giving you, will you not move to that guy? You will move now. So every innovation, regardless of the industry, regardless of the system, must be, number one, better than the existing process. Number two, there must not be wastage. Number three, when we speak about sustainability, it must not be harmful to the human body and to the human nature. I hope I've answered that. And then I think the last question in that box is, what strategies have you found most effective for fostering a culture of innovation? So let me say something, which I mentioned in the talk. I don't know how many of us said it. I said, you cannot be innovating anything without the end user in mind. I cannot say I want to make something for Evans without hearing what Evans wants. It's like, I like to be very practical, husband and wife. I say I want to delight my husband. My husband is Evans. Evans typically will like chicken burritos and fried rice. I say I want to delight him and make him happy. I go and cook a forira and amala. What is the correlation between the two? So you must give me something. My first strategy is, what does the end user want? And that's why you see that some people, even when you talk about BMW and all these luxury cars, they have customers that keep buying from them. So what do? They will ask that customer, when you use the Mercedes in 2000, what do you think? There are people that if there's a new Mercedes today now, they will first share with them. They invite them in a room. They do 3D, 4D, 5D presentations. The new Mercedes will have this, have that. And the person says, no, I've used Mercedes for 10 years. I don't like the way the sound of the engine. And that's why when you buy some Mercedes, when the engine starts, it's not like all those Chakabong Toyota. When they say noiseless, we started from generators that will be doing poo. I don't know whether you hear. Today now, there are generators that even if you're sitting there, you can take a call. You just be hearing the generator is on. We started from generator to solar inverter. Yes or no? You will come, you see somebody's house. They say there's light. You say, but in the street, they say PHCN, there's no light. And you don't, where's your generator? No generator. It's on my roof. Innovation. It must be better. The end user must be in mind. What do they want? How do they want it? And I think that's it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you
That's
so
a
much.
wrap.
We have our last question from Evans. Evans, are you still on the call?
Thank you very much, Ma, for the insightful section. And thank you, Dr. Mikpaida, for this informative session. Ma, from the whole series, I think one of the key nuggets I took away is adapt quickly to these trends, adapt quickly to these changes. And Ma, for myself, I'm a petroleum and gas engineering student, 3rd level. And in the industry, you notice that the industry is leaning towards tech, machine learning, data science, and the rest. Now, Ma, what would you advise to we students that want to transition? How would you advise us to transition petroleum and gas engineering plus tech? How would you advise us to handle this transition? Thank you very much, Ma.
How will we handle the transition? Right? That's the question. If I get you.
Yes, Ma. That's the question, Ma.
So transition from what to what? You have to, when you want to transit, it must be moving from point A to point C. So I would like to understand that question. But so when you say transition, so transition from what to what? I'd like to understand that. I think Evans is freezing up. I'm seeing his network freezing up. I don't know. Evans, can you take your question? I said, so transition from what to what? Can you take your question again?
Okay, Ma, merging petroleum and gas engineering and tech. Now, I don't know for anybody that is into career. Most times we are into two stops now that needs us for us to transition from one field to another.
So if you want to transition, you're freezing up. So I'll need to I'm holding on so that your network can come back. Your network is full.
Okay, let me help you back because of our time. His question is basically on transiting from petroleum engineering to tech. From petroleum
So that
engineering
shouldn't be, yeah, so transitioning from petroleum to tech is fantastic. Like I did say, I transitioned from computer engineering and into finance. Does it mean I am not looking into engineering things? No. So you can transition, but before you transition, you must ask yourself, is it money that is driving the transition, or is it passion that is driving the transition, or is it trends? If it is passion, it will fuel you to innovate things in tech. If it is money and that money doesn't come, you'll be frustrated. And that's why you see people, it's like you move from petroleum, you go to tech, you don't hit those, when you see tech boys with dreadlocks, t-shirt, Tesla, iPhone, you'll be like, tech is where to go. If you get there, you will have dreadlock. That one, you can go to roadside salon. They will help you to quickly do it. But to buy a Tesla means you must be innovating. You have a good job. If those things don't come and it was money that fueled it, you'll be frustrated that you will look for another thing. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. But if it is a passion of what I love to do, you will stay there. And that's why I said innovation has to do with tenacity. Tenacity is that year one, you're not making anything, you stay on it. Year two, nothing is coming out, you stay on it because you have a passion and you keep pushing. And then you can take 4 years and your big break comes. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying, but it is passion that will fuel that innovation before the finance and the money starts coming. So you need to ask yourself, transitioning is good. Any human being has the capacity to mutate, to evolve. But the question is, what is driving it? If it is money, if Samsung started with money, they wouldn't be where they are today. What was their driving force was that they wanted to deliver the best kind of phones. And that's why they are not resting. Is it revenue? They're getting revenue. That's why iPhone 2 is not resting. iPhone is one of the most profitable companies in the world. But guess what? Every year, they will keep bringing out new phones. And what will happen? People will sleep at the Apple shop to buy it. Why are they sleeping there? Value. I can tell you that, which is one thing that Samsung is still working on. If your Samsung phone falls today, the likelihood that if you don't have a strong screen guard, the screen is going to break is high, right? But you can have an iPhone, it will fall severally. It's part of the rugged. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. So some people will sleep there. Even if they say it's 100 million, they will buy it because they see value in it. So transitioning is good, but you must see value in point B before you move from A to point B. I don't know whether you get. So it's something you need to process. And then, I mean, tech is what's going on. Petroleum too, I mean, it's also good, but the world is going tech. So you need to ask yourself, and there are different ways in tech. Petroleum, people are going to keep using crude and all of that petroleum. What you should also be thinking about is tech innovations in the petroleum sector. What can I do differently? I don't know if you get me. That's also an option.
Yes,
Tech
ma'am.
in petroleum,
Thank you very much, ma'am.
that's an option.
Okay, so this is our last question, so we can end the session. So Oluwatoyin is asking, how do we handle an innovative idea that involves a lot or a little bit of finance? So how can we, handle an innovative idea that involves a lot of money, basically?
Okay, very good. You must first start from somewhere. I can tell you that, I can tell you for sure that innovations involve money, but money is not the first thing. The first thing is your passion. You start in your room. And that's why I said tenacity. When I talk about tenacity, I know what I'm saying. If today you work on something and you feel, this thing, nobody's even looking at it. How will I be able? You keep talking about those guys that did that pay stack. I'm sure they didn't go to any bank to get a loan. It starts with something. It starts with that seed in you, that thought, that mind, that thing that keeps pushing. You keep doing it. If it's a simulation you've done on your laptop, a software you've written, something you've done, you keep talking about it, have opportunities to present it, have opportunities to speak about it. There are people today, there are foundations today all over the world, in the US, in China, in Singapore, in Nigeria even. There are STEM foundations. I think we know what STEM is, that are interested in startups, that are interested in young people, that they can invest in startups. Don't say it's not in Nigeria. By the time you start it on Google, start making contacts. Which ones are these STEM foundations, these NGOs, people that are interested in startup, people that can partner with me? Your first innovation, you may have to partner with somebody. Don't sell the patent. I'm not sell your patent. No, partner. You tell the person, okay, I don't have the funding. You are bringing the funding. You be my partner. Don't just innovate and sell. No, be a partner. Imagine that the person that sold the Coke recipe sold it for how much? What is the value of Coke today as a company? Coca-Cola. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you start innovating, don't just ask for funding, ask for partner. Be a partaker. So as the thing keeps evolving and getting better, you are getting shares. So if the person comes, you say, okay, this is my idea. I can give you 30% of whatever we make for your funding. I can give you 40, I can even give you 50-50 as a startup, but take it on as a partnership. You must not be discouraged. You just keep selling it till one day somebody will buy it. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. Selling doesn't mean sell the patent. Selling your ideas, talking about it. This is what I can do. This is, if you ask, let me even use everyday thing, all these comedians that they will tell you how much they've been going and doing free talks. And that's why I also encourage young people to do voluntary things. When you keep doing all those things, someday somebody that appreciates your work will see it, and that's it. I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Yes, thank you, Ma. Oluwatoyin said he totally understands. Okay, do we have any other questions? Because we want to end the session now. Dr. Mekpaida, please, are you still on the call?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much, ma'am. Students, what do you have to say? Please unmute. Let's say thank you. I want
Thank you very much, ma.
Thank you, ma.
Very much, ma.
Thank you,
Thank you very
ma.
much, ma. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
ma.
it.
Thank
That was
you,
an
ma. Thank you,
insightful
ma. We
session.
love you, ma.
Thank you, ma.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
Really appreciate.
We love
all
you.
right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma. We appreciate you. God bless you, ma'am. We'll have you some other time. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I'm ending the session now. Have a lovely, lovely day.
Thank you so much.
Okay.